Welcome to Shell's After Dark Archives, the podcast where the veil between the known and the unknown is lifted. I'm your host Shell, and I'm here to guide you through the shadows of the supernatural. Here, we dive into chilling stories, unexplained mysteries, and real-life encounters with the paranormal. But this isn't just about storytelling, it's about the people behind the experiences. From ghost hunters to psychic mediums, UFO researchers to cryptid trackers, I'll be sitting down with those who dare to explore the strange and unusual. So, whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or just curious, get ready to embrace the unknown.
Turn off the lights, settle in, and prepare to journey into the After Dark archives.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the After Dark Archives. I am here today with Christina from Sasquatch and Sourdough Podcast, all the way from the USA. My first international guest. Very exciting.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, you're the first. Woo!
That's awesome.
So thank you.
You were my first international guest. So.
Oh, well, it's fair, isn't it?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Returning the favour.
Exactly.
So you said before we were recording that you had a special surprise for me, a question that I wasn't prepared for, and I'm not prepared for because I don't know what it is.
Yes. So I just, I like when people come on my show, I like to just ask them like random questions. So I remembered that you're from England.
I am.
And I am not. And there are several English phenomenon that came over here in the 90s. And I was wondering if you ever were as enchanted as I was with the Spice Girls. I want to know about the Spice Girls. Did you love them? Because I love them.
I did enjoy. I went through a Spice Girl stage. I think because we were probably like in high school when they came out. I'm guessing we're kind of the same age.
I'm a little older than you. So I was older. I was out of high school, but my little sister, who was 7 years younger, was like obsessed and had everything, like every trinket, every doll.
Oh, I wasn't that bad.
Every shirt. Yeah.
No, I did watch the Spice Girl movie. I
love that.
I did dress up as Spice Girls when we were at high school. We used to do these, I don't even know I can't remember what they were called, but I was in a boarding school because, and we had a mixed boarding school. And I remember that we used to do these things like every now and again, which were like in-house boarding, like, I don't know whether it's like a performance or something. And we used to like dress up as the Spice Girls and do like, mime and sing along and dance and stuff. And we used to do like the whole S Club 7 thing, and we'd get some like, there'd be 3 girls and like 3 boys, and we'd make these dance routines up. And I hope no one's got videos of those because that was horrendous. Just thinking about it actually makes me feel a bit queasy. But yeah, I was a Spice Girl fan.
Okay.
I would say that I think Scary Spice was probably my favourite, mainly because of probably the word scary, and because I was probably like bordering on my normal teenager goth stage at the time. So
yeah,
I was very confused with my music taste. I was like Linkin Park, Spice Girls, bit of Marilyn Manson every now and again.
It just sounds like the 90s to me.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, we do these quizzes sometimes on YouTube, and it's like 90s music. My husband's like, how do you know like all of them from like everything? And I was like, because that's just what we did in the 90s. We were MTV, put it on, and there was a mix of everything, and we knew it all.
Yep. Okay, that was my question. I just wanted to know if you love the Spice Girls as much as I do.
Yeah. Maybe not as much as you do from the sounds of it, but I did enjoy them. Yeah. They were pretty good for their time. I mean,
Scary Spice wasn't scary. I think it was just like she was like the weird one.
Yeah, she was
and
just
they
out
just
there.
like, with her hair.
Because you couldn't really call her out there Spice. It doesn't really have the same.
Right. She wasn't scary though. It was really, I don't know.
No.
Whatever.
No. She really wasn't.
She actually wasn't scary. Actually, well, Posh Spice was probably more scary than any of them. Like,
yeah, like you
she
wouldn't
was
want to upset her.
No. Mm-mm.
But then if you watch like her TikToks and stuff like that, she's really like, she's probably the funniest one out of all of them.
Yeah.
She's got such a cool sense of humour. Victoria Beckham, if you're listening to this, we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Beckham.
Yes, thank you. And say hello to your husband.
Yes. Hello. Hello, David.
This is taking a weird turn already.
Well, that's what I bring to the table, Michelle. Yeah. I bring the just random weirdness.
Yeah, I think that's why we connect, because we're like just in our weird little bubbles.
Yes. Yeah.
So, what I would like to do to start off with, the name of your podcast, you've probably told people a million times, but for the benefit of my listeners, where did it come from? I explained that sourdough is my favourite bread. If anyone would like to send me gifts, sourdough is appreciated. I love it.
I do too. So it's really funny because it's just so hard to explain the concept of it. Like, it really came about like sort of out of, so part of my story is that I had this really, I guess, lifestyle of like just darkness and bad energy. And then I had a spiritual awakening, like when I came to Christ in 2019. So after that, I kind of went through this whole thing of like, well, now I don't really know what to do because I need to kind of find myself again. Like, you have a new identity. Mm-hmm. And so basically I got to this point where like, I felt like God was putting on my heart to create content, but I wanted it to be like, I guess more, I still wanted to like incorporate all the weird stuff. Like, I was still interested. I found Blurred Creatures, which is an awesome podcast. And they just kind of mix in all of the weird questions, right? Like, well, what about Bigfoot? Like, what about ghosts? Like, there's ghosts in the Bible. Like, I had to kind of like figure all this stuff out because I still had a lot of questions. Yeah. And it just kind of came to me one day. Like, for a while, I thought like, well, I want to, make really good content, like glorifying God. But then I also kind of want it to be like, a mix of myself too. I'm not like a different person personality wise. And so it just came to me one day. Like, I started doing like sourdough starters and I failed miserably and I still have no idea. Like,
they seem to be like the most impossible thing going.
They just don't get work. I don't get it. Everybody's online like, oh, you just put like little dash of this. Like, it's really folky. And it's just like, I'm like, okay, I'm making a potion. Like, is that like, I can get that. Like, sure, let's put it all in here. No, it never works. It
Maybe
just never works for me.
After all.
I mean, that's basically like, it's not working for me. I don't understand it. So somebody please help me. No. Like, I say it all the time. I'm just like, I have no idea. So it just kind of came together. And I think also it's more of, and it sounds like kind of ridiculous to say this too, but it's more of like an atmosphere that I'm kind of creating. Like, I want people when they come on to the show or when they listen to the show, you're kind of just getting a whole vibe. It's not like, and it's also, two keywords. So let's be real, like Sasquatch, sourdough, those two things, like people are searching for those. So at some point they're going to come together.
Calling in your tribe.
Exactly. I mean, it's really it just kind of like came together really perfectly. But then when people want you to like they want you to explain it, I'm just like, kind of can't explain it. You just have to listen. Like, it's just like a whole, I don't know. It's just like a whole vibe. I'm trying to like, in my mind, like set a table for people to come together and just kind of hash out all of their weird experiences. Because at the end of the day, there's so many people out there more and more saying, I'm seeing this, I'm experiencing this. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know who to tell about it. Mm-hmm. And then they need healing from it too. So I'm trying to just create a space where people can feel comfortable to do that. So that's kind of the idea.
I love it though. And I think you're really good at it because when I first spoke to you, I think you were like the second podcast I've done. And I was, and so I was still like just coming out of, my little creepy room into the world and expressing who I am. And you made me feel very comfortable in my weirdness and expressing
Good.
myself and telling my story. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think
that's
many
kind of
people
like,
do.
oh, I appreciate that. Like on Instagram, that's kind of like that's like our hashtag is weirdly encouraging content. Like that's
Yeah.
really just what I want it to be, you know.
And there is some weird content on Instagram.
Oh my gosh. That's why I'm not on TikTok. Like you will not find me there.
Oh, see, I do have quite a large following on TikTok, and I do like, well, most of the comments I get is like, why did I watch this before bed?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No.
Because it's just like, they're really short, like creepy stories. And some people like, but the weirdest one I've had recently, I did it was a story about people that had, someone had passed away and they'd received a phone call from the person that had passed away like 2 weeks after they'd died. And the amount of people that have experienced this is terrifying. I was like, what? It's just opened up a whole conversation.
Which is what you want, right? Like that's kind of the whole point, I guess, of like podcasts and things like that, you know, is if you can kind of harness this technology to help people feel a little bit more comfortable in their own skin and like with their experiences, because people, especially like in my experience, the people that I've talked to, they have been experiencing these things since they were children.
Yeah.
In one way or another. So like in your mind, you might be like, yeah, I'm just telling these like creepy little ghost stories, but you're helping somebody. Like, and that's the cool thing about all of this, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You know? It definitely brings a community together of people that are seriously like-minded, which I love.
Yeah.
It's like, I sometimes wish I would find this like community when I was like younger. But then
me too.
From like the conversations I've had, we were all going through the same thing at the same time. So which is another thing in itself, like where we all having this like mass awakening at the same time of like being exposed to stuff that made us get to this point we're at now, so that we're obviously talking about it, so that people that are starting to experience things. God, I'm going down like some weird little rabbit hole thing here.
No, I don't think that you're, I mean, I think you're getting somewhere with that. Like, I think it really is, because, you know, we're all born for such a time as this. Like, this is what we're here for a reason. You know what I mean? And we're here at this time for whatever that purpose might be. And I think that, I mean, if you think about it culturally, I mean, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and that was there was a lot of different exposure, you know, compared to like the previous generation. So it's like, it could just be people realizing, wow, I went through the same thing and now I can go online and find people. Because we didn't have that.
No.
You know?
No. Well, we didn't have the internet, really, did we?
We didn't, we didn't grow up with, I mean, we didn't grow up with the internet in your, like mostly in your home. Like I didn't grow up with the internet in my home until I was in high school. Yeah. And by then it's like, I mean, most of the things I experienced were kind of, you know, younger, elementary, middle school, high school. And then by that time, you weren't really looking, you know, like I was such a goth kid that I wasn't looking for people. I wasn't like, let me figure out why is this happening? It was just like, okay, this is just who I am. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So I think now people are trying to like, either realizing that like what was happening is totally not like normal because it was, you know, a supernatural encounter, and how has it affected me, and like how do I suss it out? I guess most people are trying to figure that out now. You know?
Yeah, I think it comes from like, I was actually talking to our mutual friend Tommy earlier. Tommy. Yeah, lovely Tommy.
Tommy Colum.
Shout out to Tommy. Tommy?
Tolly? I don't know, whatever.
We're just calling Tolly from now on.
Because Tommy Colum.
Yeah.
Tommy Colum.
He is a legend. We love him dearly. I was talking to him about those weird spirals that are in the sky that everyone's been seeing. And we're kind of like, we're chatting about like what it is. And he was asking like what I think's going on. And I said, well, it's either like, it could be a few things. Like it could be a Project Bluebeam thing and, you know, trying to show people like to get them scared of aliens entering the world or something. It could be like gentle disclosure, because we've also had that pyramid thing with it being a heating system, and you know that kind of implies a technology that's far advanced to those people, which would imply aliens or something similar. So I said to him, it could be that we're just getting little drip feeds now, so that people aren't like given the full effect and being like, oh my god, like, what's gonna happen? Because people would freak out if they just suddenly like woke up and knew the things that we know. It would be a lot for anyone to deal with. I mean, it's taken us like multiple years to get to where we are. So I think overnight you'd lose your mind a little bit. But I was saying that, or the other thing is that we're getting slowly woken up so that other people can, like, you know, it's like a divine thing where they're showing us little snippets of what's possible to get us asking more questions, to get us thinking about things more and having discussions. And it's all in the mainstream now. It's all in, you know, I could not, every other post on Facebook was about that. And even from like newspapers and all the rest of it was about this spiral and about the pyramids. And I thought, is it a larger thing? Is, you know, it's so, you have to unpack it, like, why is that happening? But it's obviously creating conversations either way, which isn't a bad thing. So we were trying to unpack what that is all about earlier, and it was it leads to some very deep questions.
It definitely does. Yeah, the spiral. So getting back to the whole spiral thing. It's funny because I have to be really careful with the content that I just allow into my spirit, because I'm very easily distracted. And so, like, I'm sure you definitely feel this too. Like, you know, what you're doing, what you're producing is on purpose, and you're supposed to be doing this for a reason, to help people, right? Like, so that's how I feel. And I just don't want to like let things in to distract me. And one of the things that distracts me so easily is all of the weird conspiracy, you know. And here's I think this is kind of my big thing, like, folks listening. It's just going to get weirder. Like,
oh yeah.
It is just going to get weirder. I personally believe that we are just in a time where it's just that time. Like, that's what time it is. We are just kind of in, you know, there's just a whole bunch of weird stuff that's going to keep being unveiled, and we have to be ready for it. And I think, but we also have to not let all the, I guess, like the bells and whistles of it all, because I believe some of it is actually like just supernatural unfolding, however that, you know, whatever that is. And then I think also there is a level of governmental control, conspiracy, whatever, but you can really waste a lot of the precious time that you have on this earth digging through that stuff. And it doesn't really even, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because we just went through it with the drones, right? Like, like the drones.
Oh, yeah, the
everybody,
Jersey truck shaped sized drones. Yeah.
Right. Like, we just went through that. And then I remember being like, because my mom lives in Delaware. So, like, it was at a time where I was going to my mom's house a lot. And, you know, she's not super far from Jersey, like where she is. And I mean, we're on vacation and I'm looking up at the sky like, what's that? What's that? What's that? And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, who cares? At the end of the day, who cares? You know, like, I mean, if it's not directly affecting you, but you can really get wrapped up in it, is what I'm saying. Like, so people just have to be really discerning and careful. But when I did see the spiral thing, because I was like, all right, I have to put a pin in all the conspiracy stuff that's going on, because there's a lot, right? Yeah. There's the pyramids. I could totally have spent a whole, and, you know, in where I am, you know, so I kind of cross over with a lot of, you know, like, Christian sort of fringe content, and a lot of the folks in my camp are just pinpointing certain things and deep diving into stuff, and I'm just like, guys, what does this matter? Like, sometimes I get really overwhelmed with just like, okay, that's great, like, okay, another discovery, like another weird thing, like, so, but am I doing what I'm called to do? Am I, you know, am I loving and trusting God? And then am I also helping his people? Like, that's kind of my whole kind of thing. I guess I'm in that camp where it's like, at the end of the day, you know, if the aliens come down, then I want to be there to help you with whatever we need to escape or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to help the
survive.
people. Right. It's just going to keep getting weirder and weirder. But when I did look into that, though, it's funny because, you know, I just like briefly saw something from a meteorologist who's like here locally, because I'm in Maryland, in the United States. And so like one of our big meteorologists, like he just posted it and he was just like, yeah, this is blah, 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 blah. And it was very scientific. And so that was the first thing that I saw of it. And then I was like, okay, I guess it's just like a scientific thing. Like, and then I just like let it go. And then everybody was like reposting it. And I was just like, all right, well, it sounds sciencey and nerdy and, you know, having to do with the weather. The weather's just really weirdly changing now into spirals. Like, yeah,
it's an odd one. I mean, I did worry about myself when I was like flitting through and saw the pyramid thing, and I was like, oh, that makes sense, and then just carried on.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like, we have to, I mean, I kind of get in on these tangents a little bit because that's just like kind of where I am, is like, you know, we also are not meant to really process all of the information that we're taking in constantly. I mean, we take in so much content sometimes, and it can be for our good, but then it can also just be for like our detriment, where it just becomes like brain rot, you know? Like, and it produces fear, which I think sometimes the algorithm is totally just loves that, you know? Like, so you don't even have to look at, I mean, you just look at it and then it's like, oh, okay, well, you spent, you know, 30 seconds looking at this, whatever, and now I'm going to give you more of it. And so it really, at the end of the day, it's about, you know, what are you taking in? What are you letting kind of
like
get in?
Your energy, like what are you putting into your, feeding your mind with, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's like same as what you put into your body. Like, you think about what you put in your body, so why do you not think about what you put into your brain? I mean, I do love a little bit of a like conspiracy tinge. Tangent sometimes, every now and again. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd ever like fully dive into it. But yeah, it's interesting to like hear other people's perspective on it.
Yeah,
for sure.
So for me, I don't know. I'm ignoring it. I'm ignoring it, and I'm going hiking. Like, that's where I am.
Well, why not? Get outside.
Exactly.
It's go in nature.
It's springtime. I'm going out, and I'm just gonna, I'm going on my hikes. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So, step away from all the like craziness of the pyramids and the spirals.
I know.
What you have said before, like you used to be like very goth and into the darker side of things. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and your journey of how you got to like where you are now? Because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah. So, it's, you know, I mean, like I said, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and, you know, we had all of that stuff like X-Files, Unsolved Mysteries. I just was always really fascinated with the unknown, and just all the weird sort of stuff. Like I just really, I was drawn to that. I was like a latchkey kid, and I could walk to the local library, and I just went right to, you know, folklore, occult, all of those sections. And I really, really enjoyed those stories, like just the dark sort of stories. I always enjoyed that. And so, but when it's funny because like when I was younger, and it could have just been like, I guess, you know, we had kind of a broken home situation. So there was a lot of that sort of stuff in the house. Like there was a lot of negativity. There was a lot of anger. There was just a lot of kind of uncertainty. And I think by listening to those stories, I could relate to, you know, that there was trouble, or that there was something a little bit more, I guess, like the troubles were edgier, if that makes sense. You know, like it was just kind of a deeper trouble. And so I always kind of just was fascinated with those things. And when I got, and so then of course, like, then you get into, kind of, it just kind of goes from there, like darker, darker, darker. Because I think that what I'm seeing is, especially with young children, like I had some experiences when I was very young. Now, we grew up Catholic, but at a very young age, and I'm talking like 7, I noticed that when we would go, and we were not like the best Catholics, we would just go to church like whenever we could, because it was like my mom trying to get us something, and I didn't grow up with like prayer in the home, anything like that. And so I remember at 7 that there was just like such doubt in my mind, because I was told to pray, and then I would pray and then nothing would happen. And of course at 7, I didn't realize that like, that's just not how it works. Like, God's going to do what he's going to do in a way that you're not going to expect it. But I didn't have anyone there to tell me that. So that seed of doubt really got planted very young. So I was very angry because of my surroundings. And then I became very angry with God. So in the spiritual, like, I believe that we're in a supernatural world. Like, we're part of it, whether we realize it, whether we don't. And that's what I love about your show, is that you're helping people embrace that reality, because so many people just don't even want to realize that to begin with. So it's kind of like, no matter where you fall in those camps, it's okay. Like, you don't have to believe in Jesus to experience that kind of, like the supernatural. It's around us. People are experiencing ghosts, people are experiencing all kinds of phenomenon. But I do believe that there's two sides to that. There's dark and then there's light. And if you don't have kind of a really good foundation, that darkness, if you're out there searching, that darkness is going to come in first, because they're just, those entities and that stuff is just prowling. And I think I was just probably a really broken heart vessel at that young baby age. And it just started kind of taking seed then. And then, when I was into my teen years and stuff like that, so that kind of like, it led into like wanting more of that sort of power feeling, So I got really into just a lot of dark, like witchcraft, spellcraft, things like that. And it wasn't like what people would call, white magic. It was more intentional to be sort of dark, because I had a lot of anger. And I definitely, in high school, my whole bedroom was like an altar to whatever, and I was very stupid too, because I was very prideful and thought like, oh, well, I'm grounded in whatever my whole belief is. And I'm just going to do whatever I'm going to do. And I'm going to invite whatever entity wants to come in. And, it was just dangerous, like dangerous stuff. So that whole thing never stuck. So then I kind of grew out of that when I was, outside of my teen years and after high school. And then I just became, more, it was just more, I guess in your day-to-day existence, it's like, yeah, you're fine. You're masking, everything's fine. I'm like the cool goth metal bartender, like whatever. But inside and in interpersonal relationships, like I was just still really angry and broken. And then it just never really got solved. Like I couldn't find anything. And I was still going out and like searching for like experiences and stuff like that. Because the supernatural and, this whole, everything that we want is experiential, because we're kind of always looking for that. We're looking for that thing that's going to, fill our void or whatever.
Yeah. And I think that, like, as you say, the darker energies, they kind of know that as well. They know that you're, wanting that kind of thing to actually... So they feed on it. Like I always say, like if anyone's having a really bad mental like health issue or, having a really bad time, don't go ghost hunting, or because you don't know what you're going to like, come in. Like I always come in and I'm always like, try and be like happy and whatever. And I'm like, hi, we're here for respect. You can't hurt us. You can't do this. We're here to respect you. And I always laugh because on like the Spirit Talker app and stuff, I always get like, you are respectful. you are kind. And I'm like, they know, they just
Oh,
know. Like,
thank you.
I'm attracting like a different kind of energy.
Right.
But yeah, but also when we were kind of in high school and stuff, witchcraft was like big, because we had like practical magic, we had Sabrina the Teenage Witch, we had the Craft. You know, occult shops were popping up here, there, and everywhere. So you could get your hands on, or like all these things, like your different, you know, your black candles and Ouija boards and occult stuff. And it was, you know, I know that one of my high school friends, she was definitely into some serious dark stuff. And she used to like go off into the woods at school and like literally do spells or whatever in the woods.
Yeah.
And but I think that was, she had a similar, like, she came from a family that had been, her parents had been divorced when she was really young, and she was really angry about stuff, and she didn't really like, she just didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, you could just tell that she just was like, oh, you know, I'll do whatever, because I can, and what's the worst that can happen? Like, I don't care.
And that, I mean, I definitely, that's kind of where I was. I mean, no, I want to be really clear, and I'm always clear about this. Like, I never, like, I couldn't get my hands on like any sort of coven. We didn't have anything like that around here. And I certainly didn't like sacrifice anything. I was very careful not to get into like the satanic part of it, but they're definitely, you know, you have to be careful with any sort of, I mean, I'm sure you know this, like, obviously, like, when you are practicing any sort of craft, or especially like spell work and stuff like that, like, you have to be very careful about like not only your intentions, but like you're messing with things that you have no idea that you're messing with, even if you think that you're protected or whatever. Like, there's a lot of manipulation, and what you are ending up doing is trying to manipulate. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I was, that's basically the definition, regardless of your intention. The definition of witchcraft is basically you're manipulating something for an outcome. So I was manipulating, you know, I'm going to do this so that this boy will like me. Well, that's a soul tie.
Yeah.
And I mean, what? Like, but when you're 15, you know, you don't realize that, and you got your hands on this book and you're just like, oh, I'm going to do whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you just don't know because you're just stupid. Like, and you don't care. And I think that that's like the point, you know.
Yeah. I remember,
I totally didn't care.
Yeah. I remember there was a guy, he was my friend's brother, and he lived up our road, and because I'd been at boarding school, I came back, and I remember that he'd gone like all like dark and mysterious, and like suddenly this nerdy guy that lived up the road was suddenly a little bit interesting, a little bit hot. So I was like, obviously, like, oh, okay, I'll like hang out with him and stuff. And I remember him like, we went round, because I was friends with his sister, so we went round his house, and I remember going in his bedroom, and like him having like all black. I mean, she says in her like dark room, but it was like all black, and he had like an altar, and he was showing me all these Wiccan books and like all the rest of it. And I remember reading some of them and being like, what, you can do this to another person? Like, you can get them to do this. I was like, but why? And I was like, I've always been that, but why? But why? Yeah. And I was just like, that's so insane. But now, as like I've got older and done like my life coaching, my work and all the rest of it, I understand about soul contracts, and I understand about like, you know, what you put out in the world, you get back, and all of that. Like, even your words have some effect. Like, you can have a simple, like, call someone something, or you can say something when you're feeling really angry in an argument, and it can have that effect where it's like you've imprinted something onto that person that then creates something in them that they have to really work through, and like a trauma, you know, just from a simple like you know, a word said in anger. The same as you can say something amazing and something lovely, you can then create the positive side of that in someone. So it's like the light and the dark, isn't it? It's a constant thing. But I don't think people realize how simple it is to actually cause that in somebody.
You're absolutely 100% right. I mean, it's the power of the tongue. Like there's power in the words. The words that we speak have so much power to either bless or to curse. And that's just it. Yeah. And I have to think about that every day of my life because I also have a 10-year-old running around who's like, Mommy, stop cussing. And I'm like,
like, yeah, sorry. It's when you go like,
sorry about that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Still getting that worked out, but yeah.
It's a tough one, especially when you're like really angry.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, think about our day-to-day traffic. How many times, you know, do we want to just like cuss people out when it's really just like, I should be like, you know what? I forgive you for doing that. Like, because that's better for me anyway. Like, yeah, for cutting me off. Like,
yeah, like it's just, I always say that, like, you say it's more about them than it does about you. You just let them go.
Right. Let it go. Oh my gosh. Right.
Yeah. I always say that sometimes, like, that, especially like when we're driving anywhere and somebody like does something, my husband will get really annoyed. And I'll be like, yeah, but if you then get annoyed and other people are like watching and stuff, that then, you know, he drives off like oblivious of, you know, what he's done to upset you, but you're then getting wound up about it and you'll get wound up about it for like all day.
Right.
Why give someone your energy like that?
Yeah. Why let them have that power over you? Right. He doesn't care. Right.
He's just gone off and done it to somebody else. He's just creating the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. No, that's
I didn't get to witchcraft
so
and traffic.
I don't know.
It's quite a segue, but
just welcome to Sasquatch and Sourdough. I don't know what we talk about. Just talk about whatever.
So how did you actually get to the point where you found your Christian beliefs again then?
So, it's really interesting because as I kind of journeyed, you know, I just kind of went through college, just whatever, you know, like I said, I was really into like the whole like goth metal scene, was probably more spiritual than, you know, not religious. That was kind of the thing back then too. Like, you know, I'm spiritual, not religious. I'm just doing my own thing. But I still had a lot of that like anger and just a lot of just the, you know, the kind of darkness. And it's funny when I say darkness, I'm not talking about like aesthetic. I think sometimes we confuse the aesthetic of the way that people look or the way that they, you know, they decorate their houses or, you know, however, some people just really like to be in like moody, dark stuff. Like it's an aesthetic.
Hi there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, still to this day. Right. Like, but the thing is that I'm talking about like, it was just something inside of my heart that was just this darkness. And it really just was always there. And I think that, what really happened was I had my son and, you know, I kind of always battled with anxiety and depression. And then when I had my son and so most people like, they think like, okay, postpartum depression you get when you're like after you have your baby or whatever. Yeah. But I actually got it really bad after I weaned him. So after I stopped nursing him. And nobody tells you that. Like, and so I really, really hope that helps somebody out there because you might not realize that like after that, you're dealing with all of the hormones and stuff like that, you know? So, I had extreme anxiety. And I think I should probably mention back in the time, you know, when I was a little girl, I would always hear this cadence, this in my head that just was, you're not enough. You are not enough. Any situation, you know, you're not good enough, all of that stuff. And I tried really hard with my parents to keep them together. Like I was like the fixer, even though I was so young. That's kind of, I think it's because I was the oldest. And I think that when I look back, it was totally like a distortion of what my natural gifts are. And it just became this whole cadence. So I always had that in my head and that would come back a lot, that voice just dark voice that would say, you're not enough, you're not enough. And so when I was in a place where I had gone back to bartending when my son was 2, and, you know, I was working again. So I was kind of already in that scene, and I've always been really, really sensitive to the atmosphere and the energy of people around me. And so, you know, through my journey, you know, I wanted to be a Reiki healer. I wanted to be, you know, a medium. Like I could always pick up stuff. I just always knew, you know, so I was always trying to get into that. So I at that point when I was bartending, I thought, well, maybe I can get into like Reiki energy healing, because I kind of moved into New Age at that point. Like I got rid of the occult, like witchcraft stuff, because it wasn't working.
We're so similar, because I went down exactly the same route.
Right. Well, and you know what? I will tell you, I've learned people, I've heard of people doing the same exact thing, because what happens is you're just kind of going from one thing. You know, in like the spiritual kitchen, you're just opening up whatever cabinet, you know, is the way that I kind of think of it. Like, I just wanted to get my hands on something that worked. I wanted healing. I wanted to feel like I was an actual person and not this miserable, you know, walking Morrissey song, you know, constantly. Like, that's just how I felt, you know, like I wear black on the outside because black is how I feel on the inside. Like, that was just me, you know. But what I didn't realize was it was just like, it was my heart. Like my heart was just hurt and I needed healing. So I was, you know, bartending, doing all this stuff. And I had this crazy experience. I was drinking a lot. Like that's how I took care of all that. You know, it was just like, okay, I'll go to yoga and that's not really working. And I'll try to be, I'm going to try to do this stuff, but it's really not fixing anything. It's not changing anything. And I'm still this like mess. And so I got to a point where I was just like, again, going back and doing stupid things. Like I was inviting stuff in. We went to, so I went to, my friend had this big, like, it's kind of like a girls' weekend. And we were in a place in the woods. And she hired this girl to do like energy work on everybody. So she was going to do Reiki. And it was like, so I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, you know, maybe I'll get something done. And I was at the point where I wasn't even believing in that stuff anymore. Cause like I was just so like cynical and like nothing was working for me. And so I was also really, really still angry at Jesus for not working. Cause in my mind, he wasn't working either.
Yeah.
But I didn't also like really, it was just ridiculous. Like I didn't really believe in him, but I knew of him and I was mad at him. So I was just like really mad at God. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, well, you're not doing anything up there and I'm down here by myself and meh. And so I, just like God's brat. Like I went to this whole thing and I was really mad. I had an encounter with a friend who, I mean, I had people like all throughout my life, like chasing, like God had put in my life to like just share his goodness, and I would not hear it. I could not hear if you said Jesus to me, I would be like, go, get away. Like I was just so turned off and couldn't hear. And it was funny because like I had just had this conversation. I was so mad, and I was talking, my friend had come back from, I think she was living in Tennessee, and she was a believer. She was a really awesome Christian woman. And I was talking to her and I was like, your God doesn't do anything. And I was just like having a drunk yell at her. Like, and she listened the whole time. She was so sweet. And she sat there and listened to me. And so then I'm in this atmosphere, I'm yelling at her. All these people are getting all this energy healing. And this is the crazy thing. Before we went to this whole like retreat, I kept saying, what are we doing to protect ourselves? Like, are we doing anything to do any sort of protection? Like, who is this girl? What is she doing? You know, I was just kind of like not even trusting that. And I knew that I needed protection from this. Yeah. Like, and nobody would listen to me. And everyone was like, Christina, shut up. You're being like, so even when I was in the occult and in New Age, I still was like really, people were like, okay, this is not that serious. Like, you know, people never really understood like how serious the supernatural is, and it is, because we're kind of in a battle for our souls. And so I was always the one that was like super extra, and people would be like, yeah, it's not that bad, we're just gonna get Reiki, we're just gonna do yoga, like nothing, it's just entertainment, or it's just gonna make us feel good, you know. And so I was just like, so nobody listened to me about like needing any sort of protection. And I got like the whole thing going on with the Reiki and stuff. And then I just like, you know, I went with my one friend down to the fire pit, and we started making a fire, and she and I are very similar. And so we both kind of at the same time started looking at each other, and I was like, do you feel that? And she's like, yeah. So we're like at a fire pit, and we're in the dark, and we're surrounded by woods in this like, you know, house, this cabin. Everyone inside is doing some sort of energy. You know, there's a lot of energy work. She's taking energy and bad energy off. She's, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So in the spiritual, you're sending flares up, you know, into the cosmos, into the atmosphere. Like, hey, we got something going on here, you know? And I was down there, you know, just yelling about Jesus and just like, you know, so basically, hey, any demon, if you're not busy, here's an open vessel right here. So I'm sitting at this fire, and I'm just like, what is going on? It just felt like stuff was coming out of the woods, and I don't know how to explain it anymore. It was just like the atmosphere of where we were was so different. It was a heaviness. It was just like this. And we kept saying that. And I looked at her, and we were just like, yeah, it just feels like we're being enclosed in something. Like a darkness, you know? I mean, that's the only way that I can describe it. And it was just a really heavy, dark feeling. And then I was just like, okay, well, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to feel this way. So we just like stayed up and like got drunk, because that's like how I dealt with it.
Yeah.
And I had plenty of interactions, you know, and encounters. I mean, the place I bartended at, like the girl that owned it, she was like a total, you know, whatever. She just was into whatever and would do all kinds of supernatural practices. It didn't even matter. Like she wasn't following anything in particular. That place was haunted. You know, I was running around opening myself up and saying, hey, if you're a spirit, I'll help you. You know, I was doing all the stuff just like, hey, come on in. And so the crazy thing was so I just got drunk, and I was like, I'm not dealing with this. I don't want to deal with it. That's how I dealt with anything that was trying to like bother me. And so the only thing that made us feel better was the next day when we were coming, because it was in a mountain, when we came down the mountain, at a certain point, it lifted. Wow. Like the feeling lifted. And so now I know that what that was a principality. So a principality is basically a territorial spirit that is not, for whatever reason, has been given the authority over an area. And so it's not like it's not an angel. Like what I was experiencing was something very dark. So it was like a dark principality that was present in that area. I had gotten its attention. And ever since that trip, and I didn't put it together right away, but as I've kind of gone back and told my story, that's why these podcasts are so just so important, by the way, because people can come on here and start telling your story. When you start putting your story together of all your encounters and all of your experiences, it's going to start making sense. And that's how you can start coming together with healing. So what you're doing is very important, Michelle.
Thank you.
Yes, it really, really is, because it doesn't matter, you know, kind of whatever you've encountered, you need to be able to talk about it. You know, you really do. So yeah, when we came, so I didn't realize that I didn't even realize that I was dealing with that until I went on another podcast. my friend Drew at Cryptid Warfare podcast, and he said, he's like, that was a principality, and you invited it, in. I mean, you got its attention, and then you had, in the spiritual, you had given complete access over to your soul, and said, "Come on in." And so that's what but then I thought, okay, well, I can feel this stuff, so I must be whatever. And then I would just go, like, when we went to Gettysburg, same thing. Like, I was like, okay, I mean, I was going into, like, the most haunted place in America. Like, hey, any spirits, come on in. And it wasn't even like I'm doing what you're doing where you're trying to help something. I was just like, oh, now I just want to experience it, So it was still dangerous, like, because I didn't have anything, you know?
See, I didn't, like, I was a bit different, that I was so terrified by things that I didn't want to open up or go anywhere haunted, because I was so afraid of what would happen. But I think because I've done all my healing and I've done, like, so much learning about the supernatural and done having course upon book upon, speaking to mediums and all the rest of it, like, now I'm in a place where I know what I'm facing and I put myself, but for me, it's more of, like, trying to find spirits to pass over, to help, to hear their stories, to know, because I think, like, sometimes when you do come across an angry spirit, it's not always as it seems. Like, it's not something that's evil, it's not something that's demonic, it's something that could possibly be trapped in a circle that's, doesn't know how to find its loved ones, or doesn't know how to get back. It's missed this opportunity to cross over, and it's, just years upon years and years of people, like, coming to and from in its home or wherever, and it's seeing all these people pass and all this time go, and they still can't, like, because if I passed and I was stuck somewhere and I could see, like, all these happy families coming and going, and I couldn't be with my husband, I'd start to get angry over a while. I'd be like, well, why can everyone else be happy and I can't? Like, you're meant to pass over and then go to a happier place. That's what we've all been told. So why am I stuck here? You would be angry.
Right.
So I think for me, it's sometimes trying to work that out and, help if you can.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, it's interesting because, it's not as black and white sometimes, and I think sometimes we have to just, I always want to say, like, be careful, because you want to make sure that what you're kind of doing is what you're supposed to be doing, because you can get kind of like a slap on the hand if you're not doing what you're called to do, Yeah,
you definitely get turned around and pointed in the right direction.
Yes. Yeah, one way or another. I mean,
And sometimes it can be quite painful when you're, like, going off track, and they're like, all of this is going to happen to you, so it stops you in your tracks so that you turn around and then go down a different route. Exactly.
But so that was kind of just like, part of, where I was going, and it was just getting worse and worse. Like, my drinking was getting worse and worse. Looking back now, I can say with 100% certainty that I was oppressed. I was not possessed, but I was definitely spiritually oppressed with whatever probably the soul ties that I had made, because you're making spiritual contracts, and you're giving authority to these entities to, just use you, because that's what they, that's what the negative entities want. I'm not going to say demons, whatever, because I'm not really sure, and it doesn't really matter. Whatever it was looking for a body to inhabit. It was looking for something to control. And I was just allowing whatever, because I was looking for healing. I was and in my experience, you're not going to find that outside of Jesus, like, and letting him inhabit your heart. So I had this really it all kind of came down. I always say it's like a Smith song. It is so ridiculous. Like, I was in my mudroom and I was like drunk and it was pouring. It was a thunderstorm. And I had all these people trying to get me, you know, to church, trying to help me, praying for me. All this stuff was like coming together. And I was so done. My husband was going to leave me. He was going to take my son. Like, because I was terrible. I was angry. I was just like out of control.
Yeah.
And so, because again, not enough, you know, every time I looked at my son, I heard, you're not a good mother. You know, I mean, it was just like, it was the mind, the battlefield of my mind was just awful. And so I was in the mudroom one night and I was just like crying and drunk and, you know, it was raining and I just said, you know what? I'm done. Like I'm done. I don't know what you are. I don't even know if you exist. I don't know if I'm supposed to call upon angels or whatever, but I can't do this alone anymore and I need you. Like, so I literally was on my knees and I cried out to God. And I can't say that it changed like instant, like God doesn't work like, it's not like flipendo, you know, like
there wasn't like a light beam come down.
Right.
To be like,
and it's not like, and so that's the other thing too. Like, I feel like we get sold this really wrong, like God's character is not like some guy, you know, some minister, like you're healed. Like, that's just not how, you know what I mean? It's not how it works. We get sold that. And that's that just sucks, you know, that we get sold that. And I got sold that.
It's a podcast in itself, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I got totally sold that whole, like, that's what Christians are, you know. I mean, it was a bad experience all around, you know, with God's character, and it's just not who he is. And so I just kind of, that was, you know, we talk about, you know, salvation moments. Like, that was my salvation moment. I reached out and I said, look, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what to do. And so I had essentially invited Jesus into my heart by that act of surrender. And it just kind of went from there. My sister invited me to, so I, you know, that's when the journey really kind of healing began. My sister invited me to her church. I started going there. I started kind of understanding and learning, you know, okay, what does this mean? And so then the cool thing is, because this is how God works, after that, this part wasn't cool. Like, I kind of got really religious, and then I was like, okay, everything's bad. Like, you know, like ghosts don't exist and Harry Potter bad. Like, I just totally went that road because I think what happens is you get for me, I got so afraid. Like, I just didn't want to go back to that bad black part of my life. So I just was like, I'm going to be really good, but that's not how it works. Like, you can't buy your goodness like that. Because it's all about his mercy and your relationship. Like, he just wants a relationship with you. And I didn't know that. Like, no one had told me that, you know, like no one in all of the searching and all of that stuff was just like, hey, you probably just need like a relationship with Jesus and you'll be okay.
Well, they don't teach that, like, even when they
don't
at school
teach.
It's
stuff. Just no, they don't. No. They really, really just don't. And I don't know why that. Again, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah. That's episode 2.
It's episode 2. I will come back and we'll talk about that. But honestly, I think that it doesn't really matter. Again, because I'm the same way that you are, Michelle. Like, I want to ask why. But in this case, it doesn't really matter because it's part of my journey and it was part of my healing. And now I have that experience. Because that was the most supernatural experience I've ever had.
Yeah.
Just that whole thing. And that it actually worked. And that he actually started doing something. You know, it wasn't like I had to go to church and have someone tell me that stuff. I mean, I went and I got discipled by people that had similar, you know, experiences. But then what I found out was people that are churched, and I love them, and they grow up in the church, sometimes they don't really have these experiences. So I had to figure out, well, how am I supposed to reconcile this? Like, what about Bigfoot? What about ghosts? What about what about that shadow figure because that was the other thing too. Outside of all the anger, I had a shadow figure that was attached to me that I would see. So in that mudroom, I would be like in my kitchen So it's like I have a kitchen, kind of like a galley kitchen, and then there's a door, and then that's my mudroom. And it's just like, you know, kind of like where you put your shoes and stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
When I would be in the kitchen doing my thing, you know, changing the atmosphere, saging, trying to make everything feel better in the house because my heart was completely black and I was miserable. Like, and I was doing it because I had brought whatever this oppressed thing into the house, you know? So I'm trying, because then that was the other thing too. Like, oh, I'm the spiritual one. I'm the spiritual authority in the house because my husband, this poor, quiet Catholic man, was just like, oh my God, what is happening with her? Like, you know, I'm the one that's going to take control of the authority and the atmosphere of my house because I'm the spiritual one. It's okay. I'll take care of it. And it totally didn't, obviously. But when I would have those moments, it's crazy because like that was the beginning of the restoration because I would have those crazy moments and I would be like in my kitchen doing my thing and I would see this thing out of the corner of my eye. And it was just when I try to explain it, like it wasn't like a shadow man. It was a presence. And I knew it was there.
Yeah.
It was a dark presence. And I knew it was there and I knew it was trying to come in. So here I am in the spiritual with no authority whatsoever, throwing sage at this, you know, entity like, and telling it, and telling it that it can't, like, you know, drunkenly saying like, you can't come in here. You have no authority. And it's just like, girl, I'm already here. Like, you gave me all the authority. I'm already here and I'm already doing it all. Like, you know, so I think that's sometimes what happens too, right? Like we see, because we're in this physical reality, we see like sometimes I think what we actually see with our natural eye is just like a little representation of what's happening in the spiritual. Yeah. You know? And I don't know I believe that God allowed me to see that because I probably needed to see it because now I can come back and I can come on your show and I can, with authority, say I saw something, like I encountered something. Mm-hmm. I don't know how believable it might be if I would have just said like, well, my mind was going crazy. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like you just seem crazy, but now I look crazier because I saw this spirit, you know, entity that had just been there the whole time. But I could feel its presence. I could feel it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've had that before. Like when I was going through some stuff, like in our house, I always knew that there was something in our house because I'd had, as I said, like Peter, I could see him. Mm-hmm. But as I got older and the darker and unhappier and, you know, things I went through, it's like there is something that follows you. Like it's not just within you. It's like there's something around you, like a dark cloud presence, whatever you want to call it. Like it's almost like I always think of the film Ghost. You know, the darker ones where they're like trying to like cling on to, but then they get like dragged down and stuff. That's what it reminds me of. Like they're just like lurking, waiting to like embody you completely.
They are,
just hanging around, waiting. But then, obviously, the work you do on yourself, some people come out the other side. And then I think what happens is some people don't work on themselves, unfortunately. But, you know, it's always hard because, you know, everything happens for a reason. There's some reason behind it that we will never know, that we don't know. But I think that's what it is, that darkness takes that person, like takes over, and it's just too much. I mean, I've been like you. I've had that moment where I just went like, I can't do this anymore. Just please help me.
Yeah.
I need something.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, something happens.
Yeah.
You can't explain it. You don't know where it comes from, but each day then starts to get better. And then before you know it, you know, 10 years down the line, you don't recognize that person, but that person made you who you are now.
Isn't that amazing? Because it's like in preparation for this, because at some point we were going to talk about like Gettysburg, but obviously like that's not even like the crux of the story that we're talking about. You know, like
we kind of slipped past that one, didn't
whatever. It's ridiculous. But like it was funny because I was going through my personal Instagram, which I don't make public. It's private, but like you can. It's just so crazy. Like I can go back and I can look at like 2017 because I came to the Lord in 2019. And so like 2017 was when this stuff really was popping off. It was like that was the beginning of that experience with the principality, my experience in Gettysburg, which was just really, I had a terrible night of, I had asked like the ghosts of Gettysburg to come to me if they had any issues or problems because sure, why not?
Down.
Come on. Hey, I'm going to help you. Okay. I have no authority in anything, but I'm totally going to help you. And so when you ask for stuff, sometimes it just, you're going to get it. And I totally got it. Like that night, it was our anniversary. We went to dinner. And I do say this in all clarity. I was not drunk at that time. Because we went on a ghost tour and then everything closed, right? So we went on a ghost tour and we stayed at I want to say it was the Farnsworth house. So it's like where all the haunting is happening. It's a really high energy place. A lot of activity. And so I mean, this is the only time in my life that I've like ever experienced this, but I was terrified. I mean, I was absolutely terrified by whatever this entity was that was in the room. So I could feel it in the room. I could feel, and of course, every little, because like when you go to these places, you have to understand like this is not like a luxury hotel. It's very nice, but like you're sleeping in like a twin bed. And my husband and I do not sleep in a twin bed. We sleep in a king size bed. So I'm just like, he's right here. And I'm like, how are you not feeling like he's sound asleep? And I'm like every little thing. But I could feel, and they told us like the stuff that people would experience in this room. But, and I'm sure your listeners will understand this, like that is not my mind playing tricks on me. That's not somebody planted that in my mind and that I'm physiologically experiencing. Like I'm not psyching myself into feeling like a ghost cat is crawling on me and then feeling like something is sitting on my chest and again, the word is oppressed. Like I just felt like the oppression and then I was like frozen and it wasn't like a sleep paralysis. It was just like, I was terrified. And then of course, like every little noise, so that doesn't help because it has like an old, like, exactly. So I got no sleep and I'm looking at my husband and I'm like, he has to feel this. Like, how is no one else and no other human in this room, completely feeling terrified? And he slept like a baby. And so like, I'm just laying awake all night in terror. Like it was awful.
Yeah. I had a similar experience when we stayed at a really old hotel. And my mum had got us the room for our like wedding anniversary, not wedding anniversary, like our wedding night. I forgot the name of it then.
Honeymoon.
Yeah. So we went to like stay there, and it was like I think it used to be like the old stable of this massive like country manor house or whatever it was. And it was a really nice room. Don't get me wrong. It was like a suite. You walked in and there was like the living room area. There was a really nice bathroom, really nice big bed. And it was beautiful. But we went to sleep that night and I did not sleep a single ounce of sleep that I got. It was not happening. I felt like I was like this in the bed, like pinned down to the bed. But it wasn't.
That's how I felt.
Yeah, It was like something pushing on you, but I also felt like there were people like over me, watching me, and like there were shadows and all sorts. It was horrible, and I was just like had like goosebumps, and it was awful. And every time I looked over, my husband was just like, and when he got up in the morning, he was like, I had the best sleep, and I was like, this place is horrible. Let's go home.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, I cannot. This is terrible. I said, we have to leave. And the thing that was the first night. So we had 2 nights. So then we had like a whole day. So then, of course, I did. So
I guess this is like kind of, to kind of like wrap it up. This is like my point, right? Like we are definitely in the middle of like spiritual battle. Like we're in the middle of two different kingdoms. There's a good one, there's a bad one. So at that point, I wasn't at all, walking with Jesus. I had no authority whatsoever. I didn't know what to do, so I did nothing. And I did what I already like knew to do. And I just went and like day drank. Like, and the only reason that I fell asleep was because like we went to an Irish pub and like had lots of whiskey, and I just I passed out. Like that's how I got over it. Now,
we're not condoning that's how you deal with haunted
this
buildings.
is not how we deal with anything. No, don't do that. But what I did was like, I mean, that was just what I did because that's what I knew, I just didn't want, because I didn't want to deal with it. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm calling these things into, my atmosphere, into my realm, whatever. Like I'm getting their attention, but then I'm not even dealing with them, Like I was so ill-equipped. Now going forward in my life, I feel like number one, I probably would just be, if we went back to Gettysburg, which we want to, I'm not going to go and be like, hi, let's go. I want to find all the ghosts. Like, I'm just going to be like, okay.
This is a nice historical place.
Yes. Jesus, have your way. Whatever's, like, I'm not going to be looking for something. And if I feel something like that, then you definitely know I'm going to just rebuke it in Jesus' name like that. And sorry, you have no authority here. And you certainly have no authority over my child. Like, get out of here, whatever you are, because I don't know. You know what I mean? No. And I'm also not going there with the attention because they're on the other side of it. So this is kind of like my whole point too, is like, with all of this stuff, there's a reason that you're able to see things, and there's jobs for that in God's kingdom. You might be somebody that might be a prayer intercessor. You might be able to actually like intercessory pray for a place to remove, whatever is there, or to be a part of that in the cleansing of the land. 'Cause that's important. Like all of those things are important. There are places that have more activity because of bloodshed, iniquity, broken covenants. I mean, all of these things are real. Like that's why we see hauntings are just, symptoms of spiritual warfare, really, of what's going on. I don't feel called to do that, to Gettysburg. I'm not going to go into Gettysburg and feel like I need to call down a principality and rebuke it. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like that's not what I'm not in that capacity, but there are people that might be. So yeah, it's crazy. Like it's a crazy spiritual world.
It is definitely a crazy,
really
world.
Is.
And we are part of it.
We are. And the cool thing is, like, I enjoy coming on shows like this because I can tell my story. And I hope people, so on my podcast, like, if you come on my podcast, like, I want to hear your story. Like, that's kind of what it's all about. Because I feel like telling the stories are, again, part of the healing, but then it's part of the whole narrative, right? Because if I can tell you a story of something, if I saw a Bigfoot somewhere and you saw a Bigfoot somewhere, then maybe there is something going on in that area. And maybe, that might inform somebody else to figure that out. At some point we all have to start working together in this, because the battle is just going to keep getting bigger,
Yeah. And it's like, the more conversations you have, the more you're kind of, putting the pieces together as well, isn't it? It's like someone listening to this could be like, okay, well, that happened to me once. Like, okay, I'm not like insane. I mean, somebody could be going through like what we went through 10 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever.
Right.
And they could, understand that things will get better and things can get better. And you're not just experiencing it, because it sometimes feels like you are, because everyone else around you is like, functioning and, going to work, having a lovely time, having, a beautiful marriage with beautiful children and, white picket fence and all the rest of it. When you're like living this, your personal own hell, it does feel like nobody else in the world is experiencing it, but there are people who are experiencing it, and there are people that can go on to give the lessons and talk about it and inspire other people to go down that route.
Yeah.
And, you know, it gives hope as well. And if you do see ghosts, you aren't weird. There's lots of people that see ghosts. If you see a Sasquatch, you're not weird. Lots of people see them. If you see aliens, you're not weird. Lots of people see them.
Exactly. There are whole websites developed for
just put it
chronicling
in
them.
Google, but use your own, you know, what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Oh, I always say just do your own research. You know,
Yeah.
like don't take. I definitely like obviously don't take my experience. You know, don't take my personal experience as gospel truth. Like I always tell people, like if you don't, it's okay. Like you might not believe in Jesus, you might not care, you might not want to. It's totally fine. But he's definitely one to just do. Yeah, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like I had to. You know, suss it out for myself. I had to experience him for myself in order to believe. Not everybody needs that, you know.
Yeah, it's your path, your story.
Yeah.
And we've all got our own versions of that, I guess.
Yeah. Especially in this space, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think so. Like it seems that way from like the podcasts I listen to and the people I talk to, that we all seem to have had similar but difference. And that's why I think that maybe we all went through that to help people that are now going through that with weird stuff that's coming out to them.
Exactly.
And helping them understand it. Because we all need somebody.
Oh, for sure.
We all need somebody. Right. So to finish off the podcast, we are now renaming this spiritual this or that, because nobody can do quick. Yeah, nobody can do quick fire, so we're renaming it.
I like that. This or that.
So
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a few questions, and we shall see what the answers are, and then we're going to finish off with one profound. Well, I think this podcast's been pretty profound and, you know, deep, philosophical.
Yeah. Sorry, I brought the depth.
Well, that's what we like. That's what we like. But I think it's always nice to leave it on that note with a question that like opens up discussions for other people, to like broaden our minds. So let's do the this or that spiritual edition. Okay. So here we go. When doing your research, are you a coffee or a tea person?
Oh, so probably tea.
Oh.
If it's in the morning, coffee. If it's in the evening, tea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very wise. Very wise. Ghosts or cryptids?
Oh, can I say both?
I will let you say both.
Okay, I'm saying both.
Because they are both deeply as interesting as the other.
Yes, they are.
So, would you rather camp where Bigfoot was spotted or spend the night in a haunted lighthouse?
Can I camp?
America's got a lot of haunted lighthouses.
So I literally just thought, like, I have camped at a place that is outside of a haunted lighthouse where Bigfoot has been spotted. So
oh wow, you're living the dream.
I have been to that place.
This place that I made up exists.
It does exist. Yes, actually, it's called. I can't remember. I'll tell you later.
Oh yeah, you have to tell me because I'd like to read about it.
Yeah. What's it called?
I think we covered this one earlier. Sourdough starter, friend or fickle beast?
Oh, fickle beast. It's just.
Last show or movie that truly gave you the chills?
It
can be a TV show if you haven't got one.
I don't know. It hasn't given me like the chills. I'm trying to think.
I think after what we've experienced, a lot of things don't.
I mean, I feel really excited about the new, like the David. There's a whole David show on Prime. It's like the Song of David. It's all about like King David. It's amazing. But you mean like really creeps me out? I feel like the whole Conjuring series really. The first time I saw
I was
it,
like, eh.
Well, I'm saying like the first. Okay, so it was probably like 10 years ago. The first time I saw The Conjuring, I was like, ooh. But I can't think of anything. Usually nowadays, it's the stuff that's like I can't watch anything that's like hurting children or something that's really gory and terrible.
Yeah.
Like I can't. I just can't. It hurts my heart. Yeah,
I get that. I get that. Favorite weird smell: forest after rain, or an old book in a haunted library?
Oh, so forest after rain.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And do you know what that's called?
Good smell. Does it have a name?
Yeah, so it's actually the smell of rain coming is called petrichor.
Ooh.
Petrichor. And I know that because I had our friends had like a jazz band and they called themselves petrichor. So
that's a cool name.
Because they were all like indie jazz. Yeah. Petrichor. Go check them out.
Every day is a school day, as they say.
It really is. Yep.
We're all learning together.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask one cryptid a question. Oh, sorry. Repeat that. If you could ask one cryptid a question, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Oh, let me see. Oh, I don't know.
There's so many to choose from. That's the thing.
I think I would ask Sasquatch if he's interdimensional. Like that's what I would. Yeah. What's your deal?
Yeah.
Let's dish Sasquatch.
Yeah. Tell us.
Tell us
now.
Tell us now. What are you?
Tell us. Aliens already among us or still en route?
I don't know. I have like really weird theories about aliens sometimes. Like I just don't know. That's the thing. Like I kind of could get. I don't know. I think they're already here. I don't think I will say I really don't believe that they're like intergalactic and coming in. I think that they're already here. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they've probably been here a while.
Yeah. Now as to what they are, that's a whole different.
And why they haven't gone home, because sometimes I feel like if I was an alien and what's going on in this world right now, I'd be like, take me home.
Take me home.
This crazy ride is not for me.
Right. Like the aliens from The Simpsons. Remember them?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, bye.
They would always just be like, we're getting out of here. This place is weird.
Yeah. That's exactly what I would be like.
Yeah.
Maybe I am an alien. Maybe that's what's going on.
I think that's a theory. People are like, we're the aliens. And it's like, no, we're fine. We're not.
I think the thing is that we're not ever actually going to find out.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah.
So if you had to live in a haunted house or the woods known for Sasquatch, what would you choose?
Oh. I just want to be in the woods. So if Sasquatch is there, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I've had my haunted
house.
Yeah.
Because I'd be afraid that like Sasquatch might like stamp on me or eat me or carry me away to his cave or...
I feel like See, you just have to understand the character of Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Understand his heart.
I guess I feel more like at home in a haunted house. So
yeah.
I kind of know where I am in a haunted house and what to do. Whereas if I was in the woods with a Sasquatch, I'd be like, this is new territory for me. I feel a bit uncomfortable.
I feel the same. I feel the opposite. Yeah. So good. We've got the woods and the haunted house covered between the two of us.
Yeah. I'll stay in the house. You can check out the woods. And
that's good.
We've got all areas covered on that one. So my final question to you is, if the veil between our worlds was really thin, as they say it can be, what do you think the spirits, cryptids, or the unknown might be trying to teach us about life or even about ourselves?
I think that I think that's what we're kind of seeing unfold right now. Like, I think we're learning that we are really a part of something much bigger and supernatural than we really understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. I think that we all look in our own little bubbles quite a lot. And I think sometimes these things happen to broaden our ideas about what's actually going on in the world.
Yeah, and to be more like a little bit more understanding too, right, of each other's like experiences. That's what they're trying to tell us. Be nice to each other.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we just have each other anyway, don't we?
Yeah,
we're all the same. Well, unless you are an alien.
Yeah, unless you're a lizard person.
I'd be terrified if I saw a lizard person.
No,
that'd be absolutely horrendous.
No, thank you. Yeah, that's a whole other rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today.
This was so much fun.
It's been brilliant. I think we've spoken about some pretty deep topics. And I will come back anytime. Oh, you are more than welcome to come back. I think we've got plenty to talk about. Like, so many topics.
And you've got to come back on my show soon too.
Oh yeah, totally. I will, definitely. So if people want to find you, where can they find you? I will obviously put all your details in the description.
Yeah, so you can go to Sasquatch&Sourdough.com. I actually have an encounter map, so you can put all of your ghostly encounters, Bigfoot, alien, doesn't matter what it is, weird. I actually just had a girl, she had some really creepy symbols like appear on her arm, and she sent me pictures. And so, anything like that, any prayer requests, just weird stuff going on, you can send it there. You can email me at sasquatchandsourdough@gmail.com, and then you can find me on Instagram. And please go there and follow, because I make really just silly, lighthearted content. I try to keep the IG a little bit more light and not as, deep.
Yeah, mine's all a bit dark. But it's my vibe.
It's okay. I like it.
Yeah, I like to what did I call it? What do they call it? Like dark academia, like vibe.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. And it is. It really is. And sometimes I want that. Sometimes I want a really good scary story.
Yeah,
and sometimes you want to just go and like look at silliness, and sometimes you want a good scary story. So
yeah, but the images that you do have on your podcast and your Instagram are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's all AI.
They are like, well, most of mine's AI too, so don't worry about that.
Exactly.
Yes. You got to work with these things, not against them.
That's right. Yeah, we have to train the AI.
That's why you always say please and thank you.
Yes. Oh, be nice.
Just to be on the safe side.
Just be nice. Just be nice. Remember the power of your tongue to bless or curse.
Well, exactly, yeah. And that includes towards ChatGPT as well.
Be friends with the aliens.
Yeah. You've got to be nice to these people.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Shell. I really enjoyed being on here. This was fun.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a lovely way to spend a Friday.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, thank you. And everyone, go check out Sasquatch and Sourdough Podcast, and we shall see you on the next one.
Thank you for joining me on this journey into the unknown on Shell's After Dark archives. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a story that sends chills down your spine. I'd love to hear about your own paranormal experiences, so drop a comment or send me a message. Your story might even be featured in a future episode, and if you're loving the show, please leave a like and share it with your fellow seekers of the supernatural. For those who want even more exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and bonus episodes, join the membership. You'll find the link in the description below. Your support keeps the lights off and the stories coming. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and keep exploring the shadows. See you in the archives. After Dark.